Hello there everyone, how you doing today? I hope you're all well. Today we're going to r/nosleep to read some horror stories for you. If you enjoy, do the YouTube interaction stuff, and check out my playlist of previous horror stories. Now, without further ado, let's get started, shall we? I'm a best-selling author. Fans have waited a decade for my sequel. One decided they couldn't wait any longer. Written by YoBro1001. I was 22 when I made it onto the New York Best Times bestseller list. Not the #1 spot, that would be insane. I didn't make it to #1 until I was 24 and the sequel came out. Likely you know the series, many of you have read it. People everywhere have read it, but please don't waste time guessing who I am or what books I'm talking about. I'm tweaking enough of the details out, so I don't think you'll be able to. For now, let's just call it the series. A little bit of horror, a splash of science fiction, a sprinkle of fantasy. Somehow it hit the market at just the correct time for public consciousness to latch onto it and launch me into literary stardom. Authors don't love to admit that so much of our success comes down to dumb luck, but it would be unaware of me to claim my notoriety was purely my doing. Sure, you have to produce a fantastic novel, that's a given, but the sheer amount of writers who write fantastic novels and still balance payroll for their day job, that's absolutely staggering. The second book in the series came 2 years after the first. The third came 3 years later. With my rising popularity, my publicity appearances and time commitment skyrocketed. The fourth book didn't arrive until after 7. The final book, 5 years passed. Then 10. Then 12. In Q&As at writing conferences, questions evolved from how do you craft relatable characters to when is it coming and how dare you. Internet discourse grew angry. Fans turned from adoring to hostile. And still the finale didn't come. And then one day, one of these fans decided they refused to wait any longer to read the sequel. They decided to kidnap me. I wish I could say they drugged me. Then at least the process would have been painless. Instead, I was fully cognizant of my own ineptitude to prevent a thing. It happened in public at a Comic-Con, in the break between a panel on the future of slasher films and my scheduled book signing. "You're up," a man with a lanyard told me, and like an idiot dismissing the fact that my signing wasn't for another 20 minutes, I trounced behind him from the break room. It wasn't until he led me through an emergency exit when we were outside that I began to feel anything akin to unease. We were in a deserted corridor meant for freight trucks to unload. "Sorry, who did you say you were?" In response, he pulled a pistol from the inner lining of his coat. "It's really you. I can't believe it's you." Wait. Hey, I'm confused." He shook his head and adopted a stern expression. "I don't want to hurt you. The book. The last one in the series. Tell me where you're hiding it and how to access it." I backed up, but the door had already been banged shut. There was no outside handle. In my career, I had experienced everything from fans chasing me into parking lots to personalized signature requests at the urinal. I'd never had a weapon pulled on me, though. "Hang on," I said. "You don't want to do this." "I don't." He pointed the gun at my head. "I would feel terrible, really. All I need is the book. It's not done. There is no 5th book yet. Please, I can't get it for you. I swear on my dead wife's grave." He swallowed, unsure. Then he nodded his head at a blue van. "Get in." Except rather than acquiescence, I attempted to reason with him. The reason I ended up moaning, bloodied, and half-conscious, rolling around in the back of a kidnapper van. I wish I could say I memorized the turns and twists. That I timed the drive and attempted some sort of escape by leaping heroically from a moving vehicle. Instead, I hyperventilated and whimpered. We all secretly think we're the hero until we're blindfolded and gagged. When he finally ripped the cloth from my eyes, we were in some sort of basement. There were none of the signature scampering mice or dripping ceiling, only unfinished walls and the chemical reek of drying paint. The man sat across from me. His expression was intent. Angry, I thought at first, except no. It was something much, much worse than anger. Awe. "You're here," he said. "I can't believe you finally came. I've thought about this moment for so long. Apologies for the travel arrangements," he smiled sheepishly. "Unavoidable. You get it. I'm sure you do." I just continued to stare at him. But my manners. He leapt to my feet and pulled the gag down from my mouth. "There, that's better. Can I get you anything? Beer, maybe? A soda? You like Diet Dr. Pepper if I remember right, yeah?" I stayed totally frozen, a rabbit willing the hawk not to notice it. "You look so different from the last time I saw you. So much older. Your hair is all gone, but I suppose I look different too. Time has a way of slipping away, doesn't it? You of all people would know that. I really can't expect you to remember me. I went to your signing so long ago." Even so, a moment of hope flickered in his eyes, as if maybe he did think I would remember him, that I would light up and say, "Oh, you, number 73 in my signing line. Oh yes, you were special, my most very special of fans. Why, thank you for bringing me here to your home." "Are you all right?" His eager smile faltered. "My hair. I lost it after my wife passed. I met my captor's eyes. She died 11 years ago. Since then, my writing hasn't been the same. The book you want, I'm sorry, but it doesn't exist. I can't give it to you. If you let me go, I promise I won't remember your face. No repercussions, really." I expected the man's face to harden, to sour in annoyance. Instead, it only softened. "I know that," he said. "Most don't understand how you must have struggled when she died, but I do. That's why I brought you here." For the first time, the desk came into view behind him. A stack of fresh printer paper on one side, a metal contraption on the other. One made of metal and shackles, all above all sharp gleaming blades. He leaned towards me. "I'm gonna help you write your book." This time, when he withdrew his pistol and told me to move, I was smart enough not to resist. He led me to the desk, fitted my arm through a series of metal restraints, then strapped a bracer over my stomach. He forced my pinky finger to extend and hooked up a miniature guillotine-looking device above it. The blade glittered in the dim lighting, ready to drop onto my knuckle at any moment. "1 page an hour, okay?" he said. "My process doesn't work like that. I have to plot first, devise the scene, establish character motivations, and... You won't get hurt. There's no need. You're that talented." He rested a hand on my shoulder and twisted a 90s-style toaster oven dial above the desk to the number 60. "This is for our own good." 60 minutes later, when the dial hit 0 and the blade thumped down, both my captor and I learned that he'd been wrong. It turned out I wasn't that talented. My pinky finger rolled from the desk. It's an odd thing to watch your biggest fans devolve into your most violent perpetrators. It's much like a divorce, at least how I imagine a divorce would be if I were to ever experience one. First, they love you, you think, and then they don't, you come to realize. Eventually, they realize this too, but they still want you. They want what you used to give them, that thrilling thing that used to please them so much. Except it turns out it was never actually love they felt for you. Not really. It was only desire, selfish, ravenous desire. And even though the warm, romantic facade of it is all gone, they still crave that thing. They hate you, but they want you. But they hate you. Every few years, your publisher will try to appease them. He's busy on press tours, it's coming. And then a few years later, he's just making sure it's the best book it can be, it's coming. Occasionally, they even lie. We've spoken with him, edits are underway, soon, it's coming soon. It never does. They can't let it go, and they can't forgive you. They reread the series at first with nostalgia, then nausea, knowing they will reach the end yet another time without closure. They turn to fanfic, some poorly written, some more skilled than the original work itself. But even so, it isn't enough. Nothing is. They love you, but they hate you, but they love you. They gush to you at signings, they slander you online, they flatter you with fan art, and they send you hate mail. They harass you at grocery stores for shopping when you could be writing, and they ask you matter-of-factly who will finish the series when you die, as if the matter of your death is a passionless business transaction. Then they will make you millions and famous, and really, in the end, after the TV interviews and the backstage mental breakdowns, you're just as confused as they are. Do you love them, or do you loathe them? You tell them it's the former. It's probably the latter. To his credit, the captor had the decency to look surprised when blood began gushing from the nub where my pinky finger used to reside. "I thought you would," he stuttered, "but I thought an hour was enough time to—" I shrieked like a baby and cried. I'm not proud to admit it, but that's what I did. I screamed and cursed, and eventually I fainted. When I came to, I was still at the desk, in the chair with a metal wire strangling what was left of my knuckle, like a miniature tourniquet. The page in front of me had only a few frail scribbled lines of text. That and splatters of red. "This is good," he said, a shaky voice. "Now you understand there are real consequences, I think. I think this is what you needed." He grew more confident. "You can finally start for real. No more getting in your head. Please, I'll get you the story you want, but I need to be alone. That's how my process works. Just give me silence and food and air conditioning, and I can get it for you. You're already halfway there. You have a whole hour to finish only half a page. I believe in you." My ring finger went next. Then my middle finger. It was halfway through the timer for my index finger when my captor finally snarled and slammed his fist against the wall. The desk quivered. He collected himself. "How about a break?" he asked, "okay? And a little time to clear our heads." He brought me no food. He didn't even unstrap me from the desk. I spent the night there, occasionally sleeping, mostly staring at my failure of a story, and the mini guillotine glistening above my index finger. I didn't even attempt to escape, afraid any movement would knock the blade loose. Hours passed. "Forgive me," the voice jolted me from my sleep. My captor was back. "Had to run an errand. Ever so sorry for leaving you here like that. You must think me a terrible host. Refreshed?" "Please," I said, still groggy, "don't start the timer. It's not going to work." "You're right. I was being silly. That wasn't your process. We need to try something else." I shuddered, but I didn't protest. What was the point anymore? Every time I tried fighting back, it only left to a black eye or a missing finger. I trembled as he unlatched me and led me up the basement stairs. As we walked, my captor hummed. I mentally prepared myself for every terrible situation. I imagined him forcing me into a noose, a basin of poisonous vipers, a bathtub fit with electric coils, a dozen terrible means of torture for the dozen years he'd had to wait for my book. I readied myself for anything and everything as he prodded me out of the stairwell, and into a lavish dining room. "Take a seat." My captor gestured at one end of an enormous mahogany dining table. After shackling my ankles, he took his place at the other end. Morning lights streamed in through the stained glass window. Elaborate tapestries hung from hooks and antique rugs lined the walkways. Steaming pots of broth and cooked lamb littered the table. This was the one fate I hadn't anticipated. A pleasant one. And yet, the longer I stared, the more my gut twisted. On a nearby pedestal, a centaur-looking man thrashed in the jaws of a sea creature. The room's color scheme, red, gray, and gold, was increasingly recognizable, and the windows, they weren't just colored glass. They featured snippets of ghastly spiked fruits, an ode to familiar underworldly palaces. All of it, from the oil paintings to the woodwork of the table, were scenes from or nods to the series. This wasn't just a dining room. It was a shrine. Across the table, my captor grinned almost shyly. "You said you needed food and air conditioning. I thought this might be more accommodating for the process you described. Paper's just next to your elbow. Same rules as before." If he was willing to throw me a feast, maybe he could be rational. I sat straighter. This didn't all have to be torture. I could talk sense into him, or at the very least relax myself enough to write the story he wanted me to write. Before I could try to reason with him, he spoke. A page an hour. If not, you eat a bowl of soup like that in front of you. That's it? That's the punishment? I'm not punishing you, I'm helping you. His smile went sad. You said you couldn't write without your late wife, so I fixed that. I retrieved her urn this morning. For a moment, I didn't understand. The soup, steam rose from it. The smell of salt, potato, and garlic. The color, though, it was gray. Ashy, even. No. Nobody knows my home address, I said. Not even my agent. I don't believe you. That's not possible. That's not... He told me my home address. He described the color of the urn. This time I did write, in a panic. This wasn't the cold fear from the guillotine device. This was hot, burning desperation. Not this. Anything but this. I wrote sentence after sentence, periods and quotation marks. I didn't write one page. By the end of the hour, I'd written 4. By the end of the next, I'd written 10. My captor leaned against his arm as I worked, watching contentedly, lovingly even. When the timer rang for the 3rd time, I waved a handsome stack of papers at him, 16 in all. Here, I said, a full chapter. This has to be enough. Let me go, I'm begging you. He bounced as he approached. His expression brimmed with anticipation as he accepted the papers and scanned the first line. His excitement darkened. He flipped to the next page, glanced at the words, and scowled. What is this? It's all I could do, I said. It's the best I have. This writing, it's horrible. He ripped the pages cleanly in 2. This isn't the series at all. He ripped them again. You did it all wrong. I pleaded as he raged. I begged and apologized and promised to do better. None of it made the soup any less cold as he forced it down my throat. The methods varied. Sometimes when I failed, he would merely shock me through a metal neck brace. Other times he would get creative. He would take away my blankets and cool down to the room to below 30, lock me in a hollowed-out fridge at half full of water for hours. If I fell asleep, I'd drown. I tried to write. I really did. Chapters, plot points. I killed old characters and introduced new ones. Each time my captor would read my pages of the series and shred them to ribbons. This isn't it. You aren't doing it right. Days turned to weeks. My mental health plummeted. It's easy to stay strong for a short period. Eventually it wears you down, though. You stop sleeping. Your panic bleeds through until your bravery is sogged and melted. You become an overused wash rag, ragged and stained. My captor was no different. His initial awe twisted. His smiles morphed into glares, and his encouragement became demands. His vision narrowed until the only thing he could see was what he wanted and what I wasn't supplying. I was watching my career in a microcosm. The metaphor of my failures personified into this one demented fan. He, like my entire readership, had turned against me. Even now, he couldn't let me go. Please, I begged. I can't give you what you want. You can. Day by day, my pleas became more hysterical. It's not going to work. Just let me go. Until one day, he snapped. My captor shoved me against the basement wall, his face dripping for perhaps the first true time with unfiltered loathing. You can and you will, and if you don't, then you'll die. I will kill you. You'll scream and suffer the way I have, how we all have. Now write the series. I can't. Why not? It was then I knew with perfect certainty that I would never leave this place. I would die here, painfully, terribly. My vision went fuzzy, and my breath came out in panic breath. He hated me, but he loved me. But he hated me. Above all else, he could never let me go. Because it wasn't me, I gasped. It never was. I didn't write the book. And that is where this story ends. Please comment down below with what you think happened to our dear friend, the author. If you enjoyed the story, remember to like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. Maybe even hype the video, since that's a thing you can do on this channel. Now I will see you all next time. Bye bye.